Welcome back to Old Guy REI. Over the last few weeks, Mike and I have been coming on to do recaps and highlights of our weekly Zoom accountability calls. But we've had a few other topics that we wanted to discuss that might help some other landlords or investors out there. And I think this would be a good time to do it. So, Mikey, what's going on with you and your portfolio right now?
Yeah, so the first property we had a tenant in there for a year. So we're actually doing a turnover on that property. And we had the property management come in, then take pictures of the unit. And since you have 35 years experience as a contractor, I thought it'd be great to reach out to you, kind of see what you thought. And there was a list that we kind of went over, and I'd love to share that. And, maybe others might find value in it too.
Yeah, I think it could be really helpful. What kinds of things, or maybe some of the larger items that you saw that we can go over?
The one thing that we talked about in detail was the doors, and that was the hollow core doors. There were cracks in a couple of them, and we had talked about, when do you determine if you want to go with a hollow core door to replace it, or you want to go with a solid core door to replace it. Then we went on the Home Depot site. We looked at the prices where the hollow core was kind of going in that $70 range, and the solid core was 164. And then you also taught me about the panels, the design of the door, and then the door we're looking at was a six panel. And you're breaking down to me all the costs of from beginning to end, what we see in replacing a door. So I thought that was great value that you provided.
Yeah, I think it was nice that we could just go on the Home Depot website. The doors that you have, I believe those are called Colonist 6-panel hollow core doors. And like you said, they're $70 for the door. We were trying to figure out how much it would cost to replace them in your case. And so we were estimating if you did a hollow core door for $70, by the time you get it hung, and when they hang a door, they'll drill the hole for the doorknob, they'll do the mortises for the hinges and hang it. I would imagine lately it's costing about $75 to hang a door. It's about $75 to prime and paint the door. And then if you need a new doorknob and hinges, that could add, $40 or more, depending on the style of the doorknob. But we talked about the difference between hollow core and solid core, and like Matt always says, a hollow core door is easy to punch a hole in, or like you saw, some of the restrictors for the door opening were mounted on the hinges, and after time those can wear a hole into the door like it showed on the top of that door. So I always like to put the door stops on the baseboards so the door opens into it. And then that's one of the benefits of going with a solid core door, which was twice the price of the hollow core door, but nobody's going to punch a hole in it. I mean, in some of the photos that we saw, the kids had scribbled on them in marker. Sometimes that's a little bit of a headache to paint over. You would need to use a primer that is either oil base or alcohol base to lock that ink in. If you go over it with water-based primer, it's just going to come right through the primer and your paint. So it's better to spend a few more dollars and use the alcohol or oil base. So the cost, when you think about it, the cost of the door being double, but you're probably not going to have to replace that door again. You might have to repaint it again sometime down the road, but like I said, nobody's going to knock a hole through it because it's solid.
Yeah, that was great. And even the stairs which were carpeted was pretty dirty as well. And you had talked about dry cleaning versus steam cleaning. And I thought that was really interesting how you said steam cleaning, if it's with pets, there can be a smell afterwards.
Yeah, we used to do work on bank foreclosures, And that was one of the first things that we learned because we called a steam cleaner right away, right? Just a carpet cleaner. And whenever they do that, the carpets obviously get soaked. They vacuum out as much water as they can and they put fans, but the house really smelled bad after they were done. And for a couple of days, it took a while for that water to dissipate. But we ran across a dry cleaning company and the cost wasn't much more. In fact, our triplex in St. Joseph, we just had those done and they didn't even know that dry cleaning was an option. But when they dry clean carpets, they use dry chemicals and they scrub those into the carpet, they vacuum them out right away. So the carpet's dry, you can walk on it right away, and there's no foul odors to deal with, especially if you're trying to show the unit as quickly as possible. So that's been a good option for us over the years.
Do you know the cost difference between dry cleaning and steam cleaning? Is it similar?
In our case, in St. Joseph, Missouri, it was really close, just a few dollars more for the dry cleaning.
That's great to know. And we also talked about, because for you, you're talking about kitchen cabinets and going from, kind of deciding between plywood versus particle board. And then I thought you gave a great response to that.
Yeah, in our case, in one of our homes that we just closed on, we decided to replace three cabinets on the sink side. So it was a sink cabinet and a cabinet on the left and the right. And I asked the property manager to use cabinets that were all plywood construction as far as the boxes. I didn't want any particle board because as soon as that gets wet, it just swells up and it starts deteriorating right away. At least with plywood, you have a little bit more time to see a drip or a leak and clean it up before it affects the wood. And also with those plywood cabinets, they're going to be painted also. So the paint helps a little bit protect it. It is, they do usually need to be ordered. You can't pull plywood cabinets right off the shelf at Home Depot, but you can order them through Home Depot. And it's prolonging the process by a week and a half or two. But I think overall the product's going to last a lot longer than the particle board cabinets will. So we opted to go that way.
And one thing that surprised me was the blinds, because I thought there was damage to multiple blinds, and I thought that'd be more costly. But when you kind of was talking about it, it said the prices were a bit lower, which surprised me.
Yeah, I think some people don't like the mini blinds for a couple of reasons. They do have a cord, and sometimes that's a concern with little kids. It's like a choking hazard or a hanging hazard or something like that. But they do make a little bit more expensive versions that don't have a string. They just move up or down as you pull or push on them. But the basic mini blinds that like were in your unit, we found they were around $20 a set. So it wasn't super expensive. I think the ones that don't have a quarter could be double that. So $40 or so.
And one of the bigger ones was the gas range. The door was pretty badly damaged, so we are looking it up what a gas range. And when we were talking about GE and Whirlpool, we're kind of sticking. We found a GE listing, and that was around $678. But you had made a great suggestion about you want to think about having a glass door so that you can see through, and also a self-cleaning gas range.
Yeah, I think that that's helpful. When we were doing the bank owned properties back in the day, you could buy a gas range or electric range that just had a metal door over the oven and you can't look in. I thought at least you have to be able to look in and see what you're cooking. So we try to get a glass door. We try to get one that's not a super expensive one, like you said, $700, but that was a self-cleaning model, and that's important to some tenants. Hopefully they'll use it and keep your stove in a little bit nicer condition. But I think if you go too cheap, it's going to be a turnoff for potential tenants.
Yeah. But it's great just having your knowledge and experience and then just being able to kind of say, hey, what do you think of these pictures? And this is my first turnover too. So I find so much value in being able to reach out and just kind of say, hey, get a second opinion, 35 years experience. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad we could help. And if anybody else ever needs help, they can always reach out to us at oldguyrei@gmail.com. And we're on YouTube and everything, obviously. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok. Even though that's for the youngsters, we're giving it a try.
Everywhere. And if anyone is curious, these are September 2024 prices. So if you're watching this 5 years from now, I don't even know what the prices are going to be at that time.
It's going to be triple, I think, at least.
All right, thanks, Frank.
Yeah, yeah, of course. There were no other things on your list that came up. I think I saw the pictures too. I think those were the biggest items. So, one thing that you mentioned, as far as the properties that we just closed on, our property had manager had mentioned that the tub had a couple of chips in it. So we're getting a price on refinishing or reglazing that tub. Last time we did it, it was about $600. Even though it's not really a health or safety issue, that's another thing that a tenant would appreciate, knowing that you want to take good care of your property too. So maybe they will as well. So again, hopefully that helped, but we'll try to do this again next week. We'll see what new things have gone on in our portfolios, or maybe some of our friends have some issues that we could discuss too. So thanks for
And
sharing the photos.
sure, and just being able to communicate with my property manager, having these suggestions, learning from you and being able to communicate, say, hey, maybe we go with a solid corridor this time around. It lets the property manager know, you know, as an investor, I'm kind of studying myself and I'm learning myself. So maybe moving forward kind of gives them that second thought where they think in the run.
Yeah, I think that helps a lot. I think that, well, I was going to say it helps them give you more respect, but maybe that's not the right term. That they'll start understanding that you know what you're talking about, and I guess you'll I don't know, maybe they'll listen to you more, not just that you're putting out all these crazy wish list items, but like we said, I think the tenants too should notice the fact that you're putting in better materials and things like that, and you're not just trying to be a slumlord and cheap everything out.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, and the Home Depot thing we talked about earlier with the property manager that we're dealing with in St. Louis, I was able to send him the links for the items that we wanted to use on our list. So they were able just to download them, and they gave us a price, including what we wanted to use, and took a lot of the guesswork out.
Yeah, and for the duplex outlets, you were gonna go with the USB ports too?
Yeah, we talked about that, right? Because Matt talks about changing the outlets to a Decora style, which is a big flat rocker style switches and same shape plugs, but they do make outlets that have USB charging ports in them. So we were thinking about maybe putting some in where next to where the beds might be in the bedrooms. Sometimes if a home has an island, we'll put them on the end of the island because everybody plugs in their iPads and computers and stuff to work or look at recipe videos and things like that. So we're going to give it a shot and see if that makes a difference.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah. Well, thanks again. And we'll talk to you on the next one.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay.